Hello, everyone. This post is all about helping you decide if WordPress is a good option for you. I'm going to go over WordPress as a business, talk a little about WordPress's history, discuss the different options WordPress has to offer, and provide a list of resources WordPress provides to help you along the way. Hopefully, this video will help you decide if WordPress is the right tool you need to create and manage your website. Before we get too deep, it might be good to know what WordPress is. WordPress is a content management system, or CMS for short. This allows a user to create content without needing to know any code at all. This makes WordPress and others like it an extremely convenient and appealing way to build and manage their website. I have to say that just about anyone who has ever thought about starting a website has heard of WordPress, even if they don't know what a CMS is, and there's a good reason for that. WordPress now makes up roughly 38% of websites on the internet. Of the websites that are managed with a content management system, and there are many out there, nearly 70% choose to use WordPress. That's a staggering amount of people and businesses trusting this platform for their livelihood. Now, you might think that WordPress is only used by smaller businesses and blogs, but you would be wrong. Among the 38% of websites who use WordPress, there are enormous companies who rely on this platform. According to winningwp.com, as of March 2020, companies like Variety, Home Depot, WhiteHouse.gov, UPS, PlayStation, Zillow, Yelp, People, IBM, and even Etsy are all on the list using WordPress to power their sites. What's more is that these are just a handful of examples, and it doesn't even scratch the surface of who uses WordPress. WordPress wasn't always what it is today, though. What started out as a convenient way for bloggers to create and share their posts has grown into a platform capable of handling nearly anything you want to throw at it. It now can host any type of blog or periodical, business websites, e-commerce stores, multimedia distribution services, social media sites, and the list goes on and on. What I'm trying to say is WordPress is huge, robust, and can meet anyone's needs, which is why so many businesses, large and small, choose to use WordPress. It's also why companies like ours recommend WordPress so often to our clients. The only real question is, what are your needs? How do you want to use the website? And whether or not WordPress is right for you. But the first thing you might want to know is how WordPress functions as a CMS and why it might be beneficial to you. What makes WordPress's CMS so attractive is its consistency and function for end users such as yourself. The system uses a standardized interface to create your content, like pages, posts, or multimedia. Once you know where and how to create or make edits to anything inside WordPress, it's always the same. This is true even when a user changes what are known as themes or adds a plugin. There may be more or less options available to you because of the theme or plugin, but knowing how to use the system isn't affected. This makes the learning curve far more desirable than many other options available. Now, because you might not know what I mean when I say theme or plugin, I think it's best if we explore those terms in a little more detail, as they are the foundation of the WordPress CMS. A theme is basically a skin or style for your website. It controls how your content is laid out and how it looks when a website is loaded inside a web browser. Let's take a look at what I mean to help you understand this a little better. Here we have a typical website using the WordPress 2020 theme. You can see the color on the page, the font type and size, the header, page, and footer layouts, and even how images appear on the page. The theme also controls how the site looks on different devices, such as a cell phone or tablet. If I change the theme to, let's say, the WordPress 2017 theme, notice how everything looks a little different. The content is the same, but the layout, colors, and font type have all been altered. But what if I didn't have a theme? What would the site look like then? Well, let's take a look when I take away the theme and only provide the content. Huge difference, right? Hopefully these examples show the primary function of a theme and why they're so important. You don't need to worry about creating the entire layout of your site from scratch with WordPress. That's a huge deal because it means you don't need to understand CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet, which is the code and attached file we web designers and developers use to make a website look the way it does. All you need to do is choose the layout and look you like and start creating content. As beneficial as themes are, each theme is a little different. Sometimes themes will also provide custom functionality to your site. They might change available options, both enabling and disabling something within the WordPress options. One might provide new settings within the customizer while another might remove that same setting. Then on occasion, some themes provide features that really should be in a plugin and not the theme. So what are your options when it comes to themes? Well, the sky's the limit. There are thousands of themes available for WordPress now, and many of them are free. You can also buy already made themes or hire a WordPress developer like us to create a custom theme just for you. A word of warning when it comes to themes though, and I have to be honest about this, not all themes are good. The layouts are fine, but some haven't been updated in years, which means the code is older and that could leave your site vulnerable. For that reason, it's generally best to use themes downloaded directly from the WordPress theme menu library inside your WordPress installation, or to download, usually for a fee, your themes from a reputable theme developer. If someone is offering a free theme you can download from a social media site like Reddit or Facebook, it's probably best to steer clear of that one. Where themes provide the look and feel for your site, plugins give your site the functionality you need to meet your goals. So what are they? To try to make it simple, the best way to explain a plugin is through an example. Let's say you want to start an online store to sell clothes from your new clothing line. WordPress doesn't come with built-in functionality for an e-commerce store, but that's not a problem because there's a plugin for that. The best and most used plugin for e-commerce is WooCommerce. It's safe, updated often, and trusted by thousands of people worldwide. With it, you can have your online store up and running in days rather than months. WooCommerce is a pretty big plugin as far as plugins go. Don't be fooled. They don't have to be that large or that involved. You can have a plugin as simple as a text message that pops up each time a page loads that says, "Hello world." I don't know why anyone would want that, but you could. In fact, WordPress comes with a plugin similar to that in its Hello Dolly plugin. The plugin's only function is to display random lyrics from the song Hello Dolly inside the admin area on page load. Not very useful, but it's a tradition, so WordPress keeps it. Some plugins will only affect the admin area for content developers, or only the front end for end users, or both. There's simply too many options to go through, but just know that anything is possible with the right plugin. It's up to you to determine what part of your website the plugin is affecting and what plugin you'll need to achieve your goals. Unfortunately, there always has to be a downside. Spoiler alert, not every plugin is great. In fact, this is one of my biggest personal complaints with WordPress. I've found some plugins still available within the plugin library that haven't been updated in 7 or 8 years, which means they have most likely been completely abandoned by their developers. This isn't usually a good sign, and most often there's another plugin that will do the same thing that is regularly updated, so look for those before you install the wrong one. In case you're wondering why I care so much if a plugin is updated, well, this is where WordPress is most vulnerable. At the core of WordPress, the platform is extremely secure from what I and most developers can tell. Where there's a kink in the armor is inside poorly written and outdated plugins. The scary stories you may have heard about WordPress being unsecured comes from someone who downloaded a bad plugin and it left the site open to attacks. Even some of the most widely used plugins are prone to this, so you, the user, have to constantly be watching out for updates and information regarding known plugin vulnerabilities. It's the only way to ensure your site doesn't fall prey to attacks. Another issue with plugins is that they sometimes conflict with themes. It doesn't happen too often if you stick with the well-known themes and plugins, but occasionally you will find critical errors after you install a plugin. In short, this means that plugin won't work with your site's theme. You only have a few options when this happens. Number 1, you can either find a new plugin that does the same thing. 2, change your theme. 3, edit your theme so it works with the plugin. Good luck with that. 4, edit the plugin so it works with your theme. Again, good luck with that. Personally, I would recommend finding a different plugin. It's the easiest without changing the entire layout of your site. Still, it makes it a little irritating. As great as themes and plugins are for making a website easy to develop, it wouldn't matter much if they couldn't be added or changed easily. The consistency I mentioned earlier happens because of WordPress's use of a single place to manage everything, the admin area. The admin area is probably the most important aspect of WordPress. This refers to the administration area for your site, or back end as it's sometimes called. You can think of the back end of a website kind of like the back part of a retail store, if you're familiar with that. It makes sense that the back end is where all of the business part of the store happens, right? It's the same thing for a website. The customer sees the front of the store, or the front end in website terms, but the real work happens in the back end. Hopefully that makes sense? Well, anyway, inside the WordPress admin area is where all your settings are changed. Plugins and themes are added, removed, or changed, and where your content is created, changed, or deleted. Literally everything you need to do as a WordPress website owner can be done within the admin area if you know where to look. All that said, I know I keep referring to things I haven't explained. The customizer, plugin and theme libraries, pages and posts, just to name a few. The definitions of these won't help you much in this introduction video, but I do go over them in great detail in other videos. For now, just know that these are part of some of the available capabilities inside the WordPress admin area. WordPress has more to offer than just their CMS. They also have an abundance of resources for you if you need help. One option you have is the WordPress library. At the top of nearly every page inside the admin area is a tiny link that says Help. This will drop down help items from the WordPress library for that specific page. If you need to know more, there are often links that will take you to the main online WordPress library itself for further explanation. I will warn you, the WordPress library is a little difficult to use if you access it directly. Sometimes the library has outdated information that has just slipped through the cracks and needs to be removed. Other times, you simply won't find what you're looking for if you try to search through it. Usually that's because many search queries, like in most libraries, will provide you with hundreds of possible results. For that reason alone, I recommend you stick with the Help button on the page you're struggling with before you dive into the library. It's usually enough to answer your questions. Another huge resource, which is technically meant for developers of WordPress themes and plugins, is the developer community. This is where developers discuss various ideas, plugins, themes, and issues surrounding WordPress. Many solutions can be found here, but be warned, these are mostly developers you'll be talking to and usually not your normal everyday users. Anyone can sign up for this community, but most of the people will speak a language you might not understand and will only confuse you further. Also, if you ask a question as a non-developer, some on the forum probably won't be very patient with you and might even say something mean or tell you to leave the community because they don't think you belong there. Rest assured, you do belong there. The developer community and forums are open to everyone, just like WordPress is open to everyone. But if I can give you some advice, asking basic questions is more what the library is for, not really what the discussion boards are for. So maybe start out reading already established and answered discussions inside the developer community to learn before you start asking questions. Usually, your questions have already been answered a dozen times somewhere in the community. Now that you know a little bit about what WordPress is and how it functions, it's time to talk business. As well known as WordPress is, there are a few things many people don't realize about the company itself. I'm not talking about the day-to-day workings of the business. I don't know or care about that, and I don't know why anyone would. What I mean is, many don't know how WordPress is structured, what options there are within WordPress, and the differences between those options. WordPress, the company, is actually divided into two similar but different categories. These are commonly known and easiest to categorize as the WordPress.com and WordPress.org versions. It can be a little confusing when deciding which selection is best for your needs, which is why you should become familiar with both options and know your personal goals prior to choosing. The main difference between these two options is that the .com version is fully managed by WordPress the company with specific limitations depending on your plan. The .org version, on the other hand, requires a third-party host, but allows you to do anything you want with the WordPress platform. The biggest perk of choosing the .com version of WordPress is that you don't need to know anything about website development to get full use out of your site. WordPress takes care of everything that needs to be done in the background, so you don't have to. The only thing you need to do is make an account with them, choose your plan, and start creating. Before you rush out and start a WordPress.com account, there's one thing I need to mention. Many people are sold on WordPress.com because of the free plan option. But as with everything in the world, there's a pretty big downside to the free version of WordPress.com. In short, it's extremely limited. For one, you must use a yourname.wordpress.com URL, which means it isn't branded to you specifically. Secondly, and this is a long list, you're limited on what themes you can use, the amount of memory you have for your site. You can't add any plugins to your site, so no extra features or capabilities. There's no SEO or social media tools to help you gain maximum organic exposure on search engines, and your site will be branded as WordPress.com with WordPress ads. Last but not least, and in my opinion one of the biggest issues with the free plan on WordPress.com, is the amount of support you'll receive. Basically, you get no support outside of tutorials inside your account, searching the forums or Google for answers, or maybe there's an off chance WordPress will answer your email if you send them one. Basically, if something should go wrong, you are kind of on your own to fix it, work around it, or abandon your site and start over. Free is never free. That said, for someone who just wants to start a basic blog, the free version is more than enough and probably the way to go, at least to start. You can get many more features and added support with the WordPress.com option by purchasing a higher plan or tier. Each tier gives you more options, support, and customization abilities. Some people don't like that WordPress does this, but in my opinion, this isn't a bad thing. WordPress.com is how WordPress makes most of its money. They need to survive as a business too, and this is how they do it. For many people, the free version of WordPress.com or one of their plans is enough. The interface is easy to use, mostly hassle-free, and a great product for what it's made for. The other side of WordPress is WordPress.org. Typically, developers refer to this option of WordPress by its version number, which is currently 5.6. When in the right hands, this is where the power of WordPress really shows itself. What's great is that it's completely free and there are no limitations. But, just like with the .com version, there's a downside. You must have your own domain name and host provider to use the WordPress.org option. WordPress doesn't provide that for you. That's not too big of a deal though, because many host providers now have that famous, easy one-click WordPress installation on their plans, so you don't really need to know much about websites to get up and running. Another issue that's widely known by web developers and users is WordPress is not without its quirks. You need to know what you're doing to get everything you want out of the .org option. Knowing which plugins to use and not use, what themes are written well, and even some of the basic settings for your site all have to be done either by you or a developer. Some settings, if set incorrectly, can greatly impact the performance of your site. The advantage of using WordPress.org, though, is customization. You can customize anything you want, including themes, plugins, templates, and more. WordPress doesn't put a limit on what you can and can't do with your self-hosted installation of WordPress. They provide the admin area for you to edit your content, settings, and basic needs for the site, and you can do anything you want from there. You make these customizations at your own risk, though. You should know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and WordPress development to make custom changes inside your WordPress files at minimum. If you don't know these things, it's best not to try to make changes to theme or plugin files because you'll most likely break your site. Call a developer like us instead. Don't let that scare you away, though. It doesn't mean you're out of luck with customizing your site. There are thousands of themes and plugins available that will most likely suit your needs, and you won't need to make any alterations to code. The other great advantage is that the admin area is easy to use and content management is a snap once you understand the layout. You can change user roles, control who can edit what, make pages or posts, share your posts to social media accounts. It's really endless. Still, as with all CMS options, there's a slight learning curve that you must be aware of to get full use out of the platform. There are other videos on our channel that teach you how to use the .org version of WordPress. Check them out sometime. That's it for this introduction to WordPress, but I want to make sure you understand something. It's impossible to give you insights into everything available inside your specific WordPress installation. This is because anything and everything is possible within WordPress.org. Plugins, themes, customizations, even profile options are changeable by an experienced WordPress developer. To get a better understanding of the other options you might have available, you should consult your WordPress developer, look up various plugins, or find some WordPress themes to browse through. This video was only an overview touching the broader topics of WordPress, but trust me, there's a lot more available inside WordPress than what I covered here. If you think WordPress might be right for you, check out one of our next videos in this series, installing WordPress.org or setting up your WordPress.com account. In those videos, I will walk you through the entire process of getting your WordPress site up and running step by step. Thanks for watching. Check out our other video guides and tutorials on our YouTube channel or by going to doggonetech.com/resources. Be kind, like and subscribe.